Okay. Yep, it's pull day. I was excited to pull. Okay. Roll those shoulders, nothing fancy. All of this action. While you're doing that, let me explain what I've done here. Keep on rolling. So, got my door anchor in the wall, not a wall, what is that called? A door. Light band or medium band, then light band. Okay, so we want very little tension, and we want to be able to walk way over here. Keep rolling the shoulders, and then once you feel you have rolled your shoulders enough, you can join me in this action. So, see the little one is slip knotted over. You're just gonna do this leaning over, bent at the waist, just this pull down. It's not super heavy, just a whole bunch of these guys. Now, while I'm doing this, Alice is continuing to roll her shoulders and eat food. Can I have one? Thanks. Hopefully I'm visible. See, just straight arms, just a whole bunch of these. Just get those lats working. I don't get one with the lats because we're gonna do lat exercises. We're gonna do chin-ups, among other things. So my plan is to do regular chins. Alice is gonna do more TRX type of stuff. Then we're all gonna use bands to do single arm pulling. If you don't have a TRX or a thingamabob, chin-up bar, just stick with bands, but make your first set of pulling more of a same plane as your torso, okay? So you'll do things like this, but not yet. Alice is now gonna do these guys.
Okay.
While she's doing that, you guys are still warming up. Just reach overhead a few times. Right, left, just reaching. Let me get through here for 1 second. Not a pull down yet, Alice? Not a bent arm? Yes, that's it. And you can be that forward leaning as she is, or you can be slightly higher. Either is just fine. Okay. Assuming y'all are taking a break from that in between, because we'll do that twice. We want to get good and warm. Get your little mini band around your wrists. Keep your elbows tucked and your wrists pushing apart, and then just slowly lift and push back. Down, up and back. Pretend you're holding a tray of pizza. Tray of pizza? Yeah, I guess it does. Yeah, it does come on a tray. You don't really have to have your hands like this, but do think of keeping parallel. So as I come down, not going way out there, okay? I'm keeping my forearms perpendicular to the floor. And all the while, you're pushing your wrists apart, but keeping your elbows in. So you don't want this V shape. If anything, you want to try to make it an opposite direction V. So an actual V, not a triangle. Alice, why don't I trade bands with you for that one as much with heavy?
Thank you.
And I'm gonna do a second set of these pull downs. Again, this should be really easy. Maybe I've choked up a little bit to make it a bit heavier. I'm gonna walk farther back now. So if it was a 3 before, now it's a 4 or a 5 on the 1 to 10 of difficulty. And I'm still just holding this neutral position and just doing a whole bunch of these. As I pull down and back, my shoulders drop. When I'm out here, they can be out away from me a little bit, up by my ears, but then I bring them down and back as I pull. And I am staying in this pretty bent position. See, the hips are pushing back. You might feel a slight stretch in your hamstrings because your knees are just slightly bent. Keep your neutral spine and just do a whole bunch of these. If you find your grip starts to fatigue, you can just flip your hands around. See, now I've got it like that, looped around my hands. And if you really wanted to add to it, you could even pull apart slightly as you pull back. But I would wait on that because we don't want to wipe out your pulling muscles too much yet. We want to keep them fresh for all of the chins and TRXing that we're going to be doing. Okay, Al's turn, and you saw what I did. If you do decide you're tired of gripping it, just flip around like so. And I'll do one more of these. Okay, so again with this one, it's around my wrists, and yeah, you might want to back up a little more. Now that is a overhand. Widen your hands a bit and grip, yes, like that. Yeah. Might have been how you had it, but it looked like it was more overhand. There you go. And try to pull it all the way. Stand up a little bit more because your hammies are so flexible. Try to pull it to where it can go back. So you might even need to widen your hands a little. Good. And if that gets too heavy, you can move up. Way.
And this is one of my sets, right? Or is this a warm-up?
Well, this is still a warm-up, but this is like, yeah, it should be harder. It should be like, if it's pretty tough, just walk more forward. Okay. We're really just trying to get those lats good and warm. And yeah, don't let it extend beyond a 4 or 5 on the 1 to 10 of difficulty. So if it really starts to burn or just feels like form is changing, getting compromised, move up even more. Like do a high rep set where you still have plenty in the tank. Same with this one. You can do both of these as a regular work set, or toward the end. These both make good finishers. But for now, we're still just trying to get blood pumping. You know, we didn't jump around. We didn't do anything to get our heart rate up. But by doing these back and forth fairly quickly with decent tension, it will get our heart rate up. And very specifically, activating all the muscles that we intend to torment for the next, I predict, 38 minutes. And trying to speed these things up again. You know, it's back like, in the first few weeks of these guys, we were bringing them in under 40. Okay, now for me, it's chinning time. You did 2 of those bends, these guys? Okay, so you can just recover for a second. And actually, I'll put you on.
Oh, yeah, I did one. I was saying 2 because we switched bands.
Gotcha.
I'll do one whole other full set.
And same deal with that one. You're not trying to kill yourself. You're still just warming everything up. Think of when you get to the gym, 5 to 10 minutes on the treadmill or the elliptical or the bike or just like a nice body weight circuit bouncing around just to get the heart rate up. Globally warming up. You can make it much more specifically the muscles you're going to work, which is what we did today. But the main objective, again, is just getting your heart rate up. Okay, but it's chin-up time. I'm jumping right to it. Here we go. I am still aware of my triceps from yesterday. Or I should just say aware of my triceps, not still. It's not weird if you feel it.
Right.
And we're just doing these to failure. And if you don't have a chin-up bar, I'll show you your alternative. I'm going to stop there. So, if you have a TRX, we're going to try to get that same angle where you're pulling in line with your body as if you were doing chin-ups. Who else is sad about Fred Willard?
Very sad.
Sad. I mean, he's 86, but still sad.
Mm-hmm.
Funny dude. Good reputation. Everybody said he was kind, etc. All right, so I got my TRX up in there. Door's holding up on month number 2. Still doesn't seem to be.
Number 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The 12th we figured out. March 12th, you said? Okay. So you're up. It's this one where my feet are pretty much under my hands. I stick my butt back and I stay leaned over like that. So it's almost like you're doing this exercise in a 4-foot high room, okay? So shoulders are down. I dip my hips straight back and then I pull. The farther out it is, the more challenging. So let me, for Al, I'm gonna lengthen it a little. Alice, if you feel like you are sliding, let me know. I will set up the thing for your feet to brace against.
Okay, but you lengthen it for me for why?
To make it a little harder.
Okay, so is this the right?
That looks perfect. And you see, she's got to pause there for 1 second. From this anchor all the way down. Let me show that for both people. Hold on. So you can't see an instant because it's a narrow frame. But you see this line? She continues that way. From her hips all the way up to that anchor. She's trying to keep as straight a line as she can. All right, Al, give it a pull. And see that? She like dives forward. Now it takes some practice and the weight changes. And you see she slid her feet forward a little because as she gets toward the finish, notice she starts to, like it makes your chest drop a little. You start to like round over. And that's just because you can't pull up in a perfectly diagonal line. But she's doing that well. And Alice, if you feel like you are sliding or you need more tension, which might make you slide, you'll walk forward and I'll give you something to brace against if need be.
Thank you.
But that looks good. One nice thing about this one is it's a good way to, it's like intro to pull-ups because they're more in common with a pull-up than the lat pull machine is with the pull-up. All right, and while she's continuing that, if you only have the bands and you don't have a TRX or a chin-up bar, put the band in your door and just lean over so that you are pulling in line with your torso. So you see at the bottom of the movement, my forearm is parallel to my torso. Normally when we do rows, it's perpendicular. See that motion? The forward back. When I pull in, it's sort of at like a 90 degree. You want it like this. So now, just like what she just did, she replicated a chin up. You can do that with the band. You can replicate a pull down. All right, but that's only if you don't have a chin up bar or a TRX. How tough was that, Al?
Pretty tough.
Good. And we can actually bring you way in. And then you can brace your feet against the wall. That takes some futzing around.
Yeah, I mean, is it necessary?
Well, if you want it a bit heavier. And then the difference is instead of staying at a fully bent hip, your body will straighten out. I'll show you on the next one.
I was about to say, yeah, because, that confuses me.
I'll show you.
Based on you lengthened it so it would be harder. So then to say that you shorten it and bring my
If you stay in the exact angle you were, then yeah, by going back, it lets you keep that. Whereas if I'm way up here, see, you can't really do that. So what we would do is we would keep it long enough to where you could almost sit, brace your feet here. Now, as you pull up, you would try to lean forward. I know it's a little complicated. And you do have to kind of flex your hips as you come up. Doesn't make sense with me without, just leaning forward without the TRX, but that would make sense. Once I'm pulling, I would do a little of this. I'll show you. It's hard. Ugh. But it's like in between the first one you did and doing a full-on chin-up.
Okay. I mean, I guess it depends on how many reps you're going to be okay if I don't get. So that's however.
I like to think on these early.
I mean, yeah, like if you're saying we're doing 4 reps of this, like 4 sets, then I need to stay with what I was doing. If it's like we're doing.
Try to make them heavy, so that even if it's fewer reps, and even though it's really hard and only a few reps, it's by the end like a similar amount of exhaustion. Does that make sense? Like Like, could you have kept going doing those?
No, I was like done.
You-
If I knew that I was only doing one set. If I know that I'm doing 3 sets, I'm not gonna blow the wad in the first set. I mean, because it just doesn't work out. Because then you're like, well, do more, and no. I just know going at doing everything all out the first round, unless we're only doing one, unless it's a max lift.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's max lift. I mean,
But then I'm not doing another set. Like, that's the thing. Like, max lifts are max lifts. They're not like we're doing 3 sets of these. So I don't want to conflate the two. Yeah, I mean, I'm game to try the harder one. That's fine.
think of at the gym when we would like bench press
Mm-hmm.
or barbell press, and you would get 5.
Mm-hmm.
We would do like 3 sets of 5.
And we changed the weight. We would never do 3 sets at the same weight. We don't do 3 sets at the same weight for like squats. We don't do 3 sets at the same weight for deadlifts. We don't do 3 sets at the same weight.
With the
Or-
squats, we would tend to work up to a good heavy weight.
Right, and same with bench press. We do like 1 set at the max, and then it's like, okay, yeah, let's drop because I couldn't do any more.
Sometimes my intention is something like 1, 2, 3 sets of at your working max weight. Schedules and other things don't always get it to, or schedule. The time you're making for the set doesn't always get that to work out. But that's my goal going in.
All right, so wherever you wanted me to be this time, I will do my best.
I'll show you. Okay. Try this.
Okay.
If it is only a few reps, if it's 1 rep, that's fine with me. So as best you can, I've got my butt back.
Mm-hmm.
Your feet probably bring you to here. I mean, your hammies are so flexible, you could probably do that from here, but let's just see what happens. Does this make sense? So it's not quite the same angle. I'm having to sit back a bit. For me, I would lengthen these a little. Although you do have long arms. Let's just see what happens from there.
Okay.
That's great. And you dive the hips back. Yeah, I'd probably keep going. I probably could shorten it just a couple millimeters so that your elbow can fully straighten. But I'm totes cool with this. Yeah, it's forcing you to drive your hips back. That looks good to me. On these things, I don't know if you remember, we found a way to you can just swoop your hand through it and grip. If you find your grip strength is what starts to fail, you can try that, yeah. It's not perfect because it digs into the wrist, but I found it was a little nicer on the fingers. I think it was our last pull-up workout. No, it was the deadlift day that we just destroyed our hands.
It's weird. It's good. It's obviously hard. It's hard for me. It's definitely different muscles. I'm feeling different muscles than the other way for sure.
Yeah, the angle is going to be slightly different. And also the tension changes. So when we're scooched back, standing, and pitched over, it lightens as you get toward the top. Whereas this one, it doesn't really change. As you get toward the top, it's going to still be about the same amount of your body weight that you're lifting when you're on the ground.
Yeah. The other angle, I feel it down into here.
Uh-huh.
That one, it's here.
Mm.
And biceps. So
that makes
it's-
a good argument for going back to the first way. Because I'm not opposed to feeling this area more, but
yeah, definitely like it stops. Like this one, it just doesn't get down into like the full span down there. But I'm fine with whatever.
I vote for last set, returning to that. All right. Third, final set of regular
Do you
chins.
have a number
for
that you're
Juan.
going for?
Nah, just going to failure.
Okay.
Or a 9.
9.
Not 9 reps. 9 on the 1 to 10.
Okay.
That's the thing. I mean, that's in general. When I say failure, I kind of really mean a 9.
Mhm.
I know that's not terribly scientific, but that's a thing with studies that get published, is they often will say to failure. Then when you find out what they did, it's like, were they really going to failure? These college freshmen that they recruited for this study. I am going to do a pause set this time.
One of your curls in the back is like longer than the others today. It looks like a rat tail.
Nice. All right. It's grown back for you.
Yeah, you cut. Yeah.
Them's got a little swingy, but I'm all right with it.
Excellent.
I'm all right with it. Your turn, dearest.
All right. Let's just, for sake of like speed, let's just put it in. Let me just do these.
Oh, I hear the church bell because it's 6 for a minute. Wait a minute. No, it's not. It's 5:55.
Yeah, it doesn't ring at the right time. It rings odd. It rang odd earlier today. I was like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I don't know, this morning, and it definitely wasn't.
I'll bet that dude's shift ends at 6. So he rings the bell at 5:55 so we can get out of there. Good. If you're just joining us, Alice is she's varying how we're doing our TRX pull-ups today. She's trying to mimic how when you do a regular pull-up, your torso is in line with your arms. So if she did a TRX row like that, it's more of a row. By pitching over like this, either seated or standing, but staying bent, it makes it more like a pull down, a lat pull down. So after this, we are going to do some rowing.
All right.
If you have a kit, can I task you with separating the red one from the black one and then bringing the black one over? So if you have yourselves a kit, take your heaviest and your second heaviest, loop them, connect them like so. Actually, I'm going to do this. Okay. So now I've got a doubly long band. Now, if you have, yeah, that guy, but I'm going to take it out of there for just 1 second because I'm going to, maybe we could do this without undoing it, but I wouldn't know how. So next up, so that it's still strong, I've got the lighter band, not the super light, but the medium, we'll say, band, doubled up. So it's shortened, but it's given me as much tension, actually a little more, than the heavy band. Now at this end, these two guys, that's going on the, thank you, the clip. Voila. So now we have a nice long connected band. And at the other end, you could attach a handle if you want one. Now, by the way, I'm putting this just below the doorknob, like 5 inches below the doorknob. You can rotate to face us this way. And to hold it, I just remembered I did this exactly backwards. I like to grip the lighter ones, but this is fine. It doesn't really matter. So you can do a handle if you want. I've just got it looped around my wrist, and then I'm gonna grip like so. I should do my right arm first. And now I'm already warmed up, so I don't have to do a warm-up set, because rows and pull-downs or pull-ups, they're similar enough. And now here I go. When you're doing a total body workout, or say multiple things, like let's say you were bench pressing along with doing chin-ups, you could then make a case for doing warm-up sets of the bench because it doesn't carry over. It's not similar to the pull-ups. Whereas this movement is very similar. It's just slightly changing the angle. It's getting too heavy.
It's really good, babe.
Here. So I'm sliding up. And continuing here. There's a machine at your gym called the low pull. Not to be confused with the seated row. Some people say there's no difference. I say there is. If your feet are set up like that and braced against something, it's a low pull. If you're in a chair, you're seated, I call that the seated row.
Interesting.
That's not quite standardized, but if you look at a good amount of fitness equipment, it does follow that. And the movements are different. If somebody has a low back thing, often it's the chest supported seated row. There's a pad that you brace your chest against. If somebody has a low back issue, low pull might be a little rough on them.
Do this.
Yeah, and you'll see what I mean. It's a little nicer to have this exactly flipped.
Here, this way.
Yeah, and I might do that on the break. So I did my right arm, she's doing her right arm, and then we shall repeat. We will do this, how much time are we making? Oh yeah, it's 6, we just figured that out.
Holy moly.
Yeah, you're way back there.
You were way back there.
Not much more. We'll do 2 per side. Trying to get in frame awkwardly. So we set up our, we put this on YouTube and Insta. Not for much longer are we going to use Insta. I know I said that a week ago, but whatever. Just because it doesn't play back as easily and it seems to give me more trouble recording. But anyway, we just put the phone on the laptop, but it's 2 different frames. YouTube is nice and wide like this. Insta is, Insta. It's a vertical rectangle. Good.
Yeah, it's getting too sloppy. There we go.
All right, I am actually going to switch this just because my hand would like me to. So all I've done is swapped, put the green band, the heavy band, in the door anchor. And now my left will go in here. This is just a nicer grip. The load is identical, I think. How's that face?
That's a face.
It's a face.
That's a face.
If anybody's curious if I do a full face every day, I do. It's that. That's my full face. That's about my limit. Whee! Little drop set. So yeah, this is set number 1 for my left. Then Alice will do her left, and then I will do my right, and she will do her right, and I will do my left, and she'll do her left, and then we're moving on. Ooh, good job. You wonder, how did it not pull itself through, but it didn't.
You did.
You can also do pull downs seated like this. you just put the door anchor way up there. The only problem is if you connect multiple bands to make the load less progressive, the angle isn't going to be quite overhead, so that's where you might have to like get onto like one knee and lean way over like that. It's a little awkward, but this is the awkward era. There you go. See what I mean about that grip? It's a little nicer than the green one.
Yeah.
I was curious if there was a way to like get individual bands to go between the fingers, but that feels like more work than it's worth.
Yeah, that's a few. Yeah, I agree. You know, like there's that place where you can get like kind of locked and loaded. It's like I can't do that with this.
The seated, leaning back feeling.
Yeah, or like I can't ever like pull. I can't pull it like the way like
Right.
if I were lifting up the kettlebell or a dumbbell.
You can really get it in there.
Right. Like it's like wrist to rib. I can't do that here.
If I had to guess, it might have something to do with by flexing the hip so much, our lats do connect to the hip via the lumbodorsal fascia, basically. This is where your lats run into your low back here. And maybe by doing this, by having your foot flexed, because you're seated, not just seated, but like almost fully flexed, I suspect that might be why we can't bring our arm back as well. Like even with very lightweight, it's hard to do that.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah. Good. Isn't that fun? Getting up that way. All right, set number 2.
So number 2.
Back to the right. Yeah, if you did, I'll just show you for a second. If you did something like that, you might feel it a little better. We're doing these today, partly intentionally to change things up. But yeah, I totally feel the difference. Just having been kneeling to now doing this, like it gets to like here, and I just not just gets out of strength, but it just feels like you run out of room.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah.
With these rows, make sure you're still getting your shoulder down and back with each pull.
Yeah, my shoulders aren't going. I'm seeing whenever I finish my set, I come over and I look and see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really high up.
If you find you much prefer the kneeling or even standing, that's fine with me. A few more up here. It's 4 more. Your right arm. And it might also just be the band gets heavier toward the finish, even though I've connected them. I do feel a difference kneeling or standing versus sitting back like this, but much more so if you grab the kettlebell and lean over. There you go. I'm seeing shoulder go back.
Yeah, they're not down. These are very up.
Mm.
I'm really thinking about like lengthening my neck. But if I look from the video from the beginning, I'm really training, what are these, traps?
Yeah.
Really training those traps, which is not the look I'm interested in having, but you know, quarantine, it's not we don't always get our preference.
I remember reading a blog a while back, or might have just been a short post. Basically, some trainer or somebody was arguing for going heavy with shrugs, partially so you train them to prioritize heavy, the fast twitch fibers, versus the slow twitch, long duration endurance fibers. One, because potentially if you don't want them to bulk up, but two, the idea that your body will only build or prioritize the one fiber type. So if you have more endurance fibers in the mid and lower tracts, maybe your body will just be better, because that's what we want, is the ability to keep them down for a while, right? So if you get your shoulders really strong at lifting just once or 5 times versus a long set, that was his little theory. I don't know if I want to throw it at people. I think it needs a little more support beyond just, brainstorming.
Right.
But, on paper, it kind of makes sense. That's the specificity principle. It is why there is carryover. If you get stronger legs, you get stronger legs, whatever sport you're playing, whatever activity you're doing. But if you want to be good at, say, mountain climbing, hiking, versus Olympic lifting, you should do more mountain climbing. You should do more high rep stuff, because your body will build more of those endurance fibers. Whereas if you need to do something once really powerfully, you should prioritize the fast twitch stuff. If you're a bodybuilder, do them all. If you are Alice and I and other people who are just looking to stay fit, I'd say do them all, but now and then maybe select the one that you think applies to you more. The idea that you can prevent hypertrophy by staying out of 1 rep range, that's not outright debunked, but it's not as supported as it used to be. Like, we used to push for, you don't want to get bulky? 5 and under, never go above 5, maybe even 3. And they've kind of shown, no, you can still add mass in the lower rep ranges as long as you're training to failure, to where number 3 or 4 is really the last you can do. But there's also clearly something to, if you ask bodybuilders where are they hanging out usually, it's in like the 12 to 20 rep range. Because that's teaching the muscle it has to store more energy there. So more glycogen. You do a whole lot of bicep curls because you're telling your bicep you have to have more local energy. All right, now, last set for the left.
All right, thank you.
Now the next thing we're gonna do is keep this same setup. The way the black band is, we're gonna hold it overhand and do that exercise we started with, where you're pulling to your sides. So you lean over and you're doing basically a pull down. Very good. And we will do 2 sets of that, and it's going to be part of a superset. And then 1 set of bicep curls, and then we'll be done. It's like Wolverine's claws, how in the movies they come out of there. In the comics, they come out of there. And fans of the comics were like, I don't understand, why would they make Wolverine's claws come out of there? Or out of there for the movie? And then, I don't know if anyone had a good answer for them. Maybe it was the effects department. Like, when they go schnicked out of his hand, like, it does kind of make sense. You only have to have your hand lined up with your forearm for the things to come straight out. Whereas, like, to come out of the top of your hand, like, I don't know, where do you get the, I don't know. Okay, let's check it out, like so. If you set it up the way I showed you before, I apologize, because you do have to flip it around. Heavy bend is up there, medium, and then the light like this. Now I'm gonna lean over, and as best I can, I'm gonna pull to the sides of me. If you don't like that grip, you can hold it like this. See how now I've changed to hammer position? Of the two, I do kind of like that way more.
That's hammer position?
Or neutral, hammer, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the other way would be a pronated, an overhand grip. Just don't do underhand. Your palms should either be neutral or face down. Now with this one, ideally your shoulders are staying down. Maybe at the top here they come up a little. It's gonna get very tough to not do a little of that rolling forward. If you find yourself hitting that wall, do just move up a little. And we're gonna follow this with face pulls. I wanna do one more. Okay. See that? Shoulders down, elbows flare out, wrists go high. Try to get them above your elbows, shoulders down. If that gets too tough, just scooch forward. Your wrists can sort of flex. You see how I'm doing at the top? I feel like they can stay kind of limp-wristed at the top. I'm gonna do one more. Ugh. All right. Try this. If it is too hard, let's switch bands. Let's go to the red. I would say for the first one, I would say just squeeze it. Yeah, just hold the sides. I like that better. Yeah. See what happened. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty hard.
Where are you? Sorry, straight arms?
Yeah, let's go with the red band. I can see that's gonna be, because ideally we would have like 5 of the red ones connected. We would want it to stay the same tension. Get that even if you can.
Yeah. Okay,
And this will make a little more sense. Now just grip the sides of it. That's right. And now just pull to your side. Pretend like you're cross-country skiing a bit.
Okay.
The best machine for this is the Ski Erg. If you've been to a gym that has that thing, you know the Concept 2 rower? That's where you're doing, it looks like the low pull. It's rowing. It looks like you're in a boat rowing. And your feet can go forward and back, or your hips rather. They also make an upright version that's like skiing. So you get to pull down like that really fast. That thing's great because it's using a flywheel. So as you pull, it gives you more tension the harder you pull. Very good. Just go till you get a good little burn. And then try the thing I did second, which is you do flip your hands into the loops. Getting a good burn? Good. And you might even feel abs working on
Do you put my hands into the loose? Oh, did you?
Yeah, and then grip maybe like that. Yeah, or through the fingers, that's fine. And then you kind of do this.
Were you kneeling?
Yeah.
Okay.
One knee down, one foot in front.
Okay.
And like think of letting the wrists just hang loose. Like hold it. Yeah, like that. But let the wrist just be sort of, yeah, like that. Beautiful. And the elbows are slightly high like that, but the wrists go above them. That's great. Shoulders down and back as best you can. And yeah, with this one, if it gets too tough, you can move forward. I am considering swapping the black for the blue on the next one. Because this also, it makes for a good finisher. And I know I keep using that word. You might be like, what is a finisher? It's like a nice, usually high-ish rep set that just covers a lot of the muscles you already did for the workout and just beats them up good. It just makes sure they're good and depleted. I generally like it to be a somewhat low skill movement. So here, the pull down kind of kind of fits that bill. The face pull, not so much. That's a fairly complicated. It paused my Insta. Like the face pull is a little complicated. Where'd the black one go? So all I'm doing now is lightening this a little bit for both of us. I've got the black band now hooked into the green one. So it goes from the extra heavy to the medium. And now I'm same deal. I've got the red one looped around looped through the black one. Okay. And now I'm going to do my, it's like cross-country skiing. That feels better. That was a little hard. And you can really get explosive with this. Like you can sort of do that sort of thing. See, I'm really popping. Keep those shoulders down and back. You might feel your triceps. You can even do like that. See, I'm doing like a pull then press. Don't do that now. The goal is that it is more like a pull down. But that's just an exercise you could do. You basically have a little cardio machine set up by doing that. Boom, boom, just a whole bunch of those.
Interesting.
Yeah. Did they have one of those at Epic? The skiers?
Nah.
They had rowers, right?
Yeah.
They're newish. They're more like within the last, a few years, but gyms weren't getting them until recently. Okay, now one more thing. I flip my hands through the loops, around my wrists like that. And now I'm doing the face pull.
When you do this, where do you think about feeling your muscles work? Like where are you focusing on?
I think shoulders down and back. I try to picture my lats, even though they're not doing the pulling. If they're engaging, hopefully it's helping keep my shoulders down. But it's rotator cuff. It's mid-traps, your mid-trapezius, and the external rotator. So as I do that, that's rhomboid, that's mid-traps, that's lats doing a pull. But then as you go into external rotation, that is your external rotators, your teres minor, or is there teres minor with your arm out like that? Infraspinatus is working. Yeah, he's working. I'm thinking your supraspinatus might be a little turned off because of the position you're in. I should check that. That's your rotator cuff, are those four muscles, infraspinatus, supraspinatus, and your teres minor, and then the subscapularis is the internal rotator, which I think I've yet to make us do. Any internal rotation? That's this. We should now and then.
We've done a little bit.
Did we?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a good one to include because your pecs and lats internally rotate the humerus, but the subscapularis is important for it attaches higher, so it helps really keep the head where it's supposed to be while you internally rotate. Pec major attaches lower, so that's why it's so strong. You know, if you're doing a push-up or a bench press or throwing a punch, pec major, he's bringing your arm across. But he also, because he attaches lower on your humerus, might tend to pull it forward more. Whereas subscap, he's inside your wing, your shoulder blade, he's anterior to it, so he's on the deep facing forward side of your wing, attaches to your humerus much higher, so it's able to move the head up like this. It doesn't pull it like that. Does that kind of make any sense at all? I know I was out of frame as I was explaining that. I was looking at myself on Insta.
You were seeing yourself on Insta when you were in frame.
But on YouTube, I think I was out of frame. I was up here going, you guys see this? Pointing above the frame. Ugh. But yeah, that is partly why it is imperative to mix up your movements. If you just bench, chin, and deadlift and squat, I mean, that's great. I will not ever say a bad thing about doing those things. But just pay attention to your body and do consider form. And if you start to feel pain, just do a little research and try to add in those kind of little things now and then.
3 more.
Good. Wonderful. Okay, we're just gonna do a little biceps. I'm gonna step on two heavy bands today. We have 4 different size bands, so I'm calling this one heavy. Okay. This is my little experiment today. I'm gonna, oh, that's right, this is what I wanna do. I'm stepping on it in a way that it's giving me tension right at the bottom.
Do you want me to start with your feet?
Yeah, you
Start
can.
with your feet. Okay, so you're stepping on it there.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Causes some slack.
I figured it out.
Crisscrossies.
I'm gonna crisscross it. That's what I'm gonna do. This way I don't have to worry about stabilizing it so hard.
Absolutely.
I was just gonna step on it, but this way you can't go nowheres. Did I do that right? I think so. Okay. Makes sense? Now I can do my curls.
There.
A little more tension.
Curling it up.
Makes sense, people?
Curling it up.
Alice is gonna stand on the black band. Curl that. They're hard.
They look it.
Squat down to make it a little less heavy. That's the last one. Oh my god, they're hard. Al's turn. Yeah, like that. I know we used the pipe last time we did this. That was a hoot.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Hey, we did it. We brought it in 38 minutes. I'm just kidding. It's been 54 minutes. We'll close it up here.
Great.
Sometimes we do pull-aparts when we do these back workouts, these pulling workouts. But because we did those face pulls, that largely covered that. So therefore, we're done. Everyone have a wonderful day. Oh. Maureen's being cute.
Yeah.
I like to think these are adaptable for any age and capability. What's up, Hendrickson? All right, I bid you all adieu. Have a wonderful day, and I'll potentially see you mañana. Bye-bye.